So here's another example for an analogy. This time we're going to use this analogy to kind of clarify and simplify people's understanding of some of the concerns that Israel has with the possible upcoming declaration of a Palestinian state. Let's go back to the early 1960s. I don't know how many of you still remember that case, but the famous Cuban Missile Crisis. The story goes that the American intelligence was able to get information that indicated that the Russians were actually building nuclear missiles in Cuba. And based on the pictures that the intelligence was able to collect from planes that were flying overhead, they discovered that it would take the Russians at least another 13 days before the first missile would be ready to launch, which would mean that from that point on, America couldn't prevent that missile from being launched, and tens of thousands, if not more, of Americans' lives would be at risk. Now, what should Kennedy do? There's a wonderful movie about this, by the way, called 13 Days by Kevin Costner, where he takes you step by step and you find yourself constantly deciding, what should I do if possibly 13 days from today, a single rocket will be able to be shot at my country? It's a pretty tough dilemma, isn't it? So guess what? Israel doesn't get 13 days. Israel gets 15 seconds. And it's not about 1, 2, or 10 possible missiles that can hit certain areas in Israel. It's about thousands and thousands of rockets that can hit almost every piece of geography in Israel. So when you think about the upcoming possibility of a Palestinian state, ask yourself, what country would I want to have boarding at my border? If you're American, for example, what would I like Cuba to be like? Would I like Cuba to be able to shoot missiles at me at a whim at any time that they felt there was a problem? Think about it. We don't have 13 days, we have 15 seconds. And it's not about a single missile. It's about 10,000 rockets that have already been sent over in the past 8 or 9 years, with a commitment by Hamas to continue shooting them over every single time they feel that we're violating one of their rights. Now, does this mean that you should be in favor or against the establishment of a Palestinian country? That's up to you to decide. What this analogy is meant to demonstrate is the complex reality of having a neighbor to your country that has the capability and the motivation to shoot rockets at you day and night, and says that it will continue doing so, and yet calls for its right to self-determination. In other words, a country that is trying to convince the entire world that it has a right to exist is constantly saying that we don't.